Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be doing another writing lesson. Today's writing lesson, I'm going to teach you a writing tool from Gretchen Bernabei, and it's her BaDaBing writing. Now, this writing tool can be used from the most beginning of writers to the most advanced writers. It also can be used both in narrative and expository writing. So today we're going to take a look at the different parts of it and walk you through exactly what it means and how you can use it in your different types of writing. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so the bada bing is broken up into three different parts: ba, da, and bing. Your ba is where are your feet. This provides a setting for your narrative. It talks about where you are. It can also be used to describe when an event happened if you're talking about history, where an animal lived. It can be talking about a science experiment that you're doing, a science investigation. I've even seen it used in math problems before, especially word problems, when trying to think out how to do it in a word problem. Your da is what do I see? This is actually not just what do you see, but it can be a sentence from any of your five senses. So sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste, any of those that you're going to use to help the writer to write about the setting, but also for the reader to get a feeling of where they are. So what kind of smells do you are there? What kind of things do you see? What can you feel? What does something feel like? Is it rough, soft? The last part is your bing. And this is what do I think? Now, this can be either a thought or an emotion. Now, the one thing that I make sure that I tell my students is when they are talking about a emotion, that oftentimes I'm like, well, what do you feel? This is not tactile. This is not what they touch. As the da is one of the five sentences, I feel something hard. This is different. This is an emotion, something that you feel inside. I felt happy. I felt sad. I felt scared. But also, what were you thinking? I was thinking about this. This came to my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about that. I felt scared when this happened. So as you can see, it's just three different things, not hard at all. And it leads into, like I said, it can be used in any type of writing. So for example, I've got a blank sheet here real quick. Let's take a look at this one. Write about a time you went somewhere new. So starting with my ba, I was standing outside of, let's talk about Six Flags. Six Flags in San Antonio. Now I know where I am. I know where my feet are. I'm standing outside of Six Flags in San Antonio. Okay. Your next part is your da. What is a five sentence? What is a feeling? What is something that you think? I mean, see, hear. So I can hear the roller coasters coming from behind the wall, and I see the many people in line waiting to get inside. Now is your bing. So what am I thinking about? What am I feeling? An emotion. I feel excited as I approach the entrance to the park. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun if the lines aren't all this long. So again, we have in here your ba. Where were we? We were standing outside of Six Flags in San Antonio. Okay. Well, what am I hearing, seeing? I can hear the roller coasters coming from behind the wall. I can see the many people in line waiting to get inside. Okay, cover 2 of those 5 senses. You don't have to use them all, and you don't have to use more than one. I just did to help evoke a feeling of excitement in the reader. I feel excited as I approach the entrance to the park, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun if the lines aren't all this long. So I've already got both the excitement, but also a little bit of the worry that a lot of us have when we go to an amusement park. Are the lines going to be long? Am I going to be waiting for hours just to get on one ride? So that's an example of a narrative that we can do. But like I said, this can also be used for expository. Describe a penguin's natural habitat. So again, I'm not talking about me anymore. I'm talking about the penguin. But where is the penguin? You can also talk about what they're doing. The penguin was sliding along the snow-covered cliff as it approached the icy water. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put our dot, 5 senses, something we see, hear, feel. Now again, because of this not being myself, it'd be hard for me to go and know exactly what the penguin might be feeling. We know that ice would be cold, but we've already talked about the snow and the ice, so we know that it's cold. We can talk about that as a feeling. We can talk about the sound it makes. So the penguin made a soft splash as it entered the cold water below. So we've got our feeling word, cold. We've also got splash. Now, if I wanted to, and a soft splash, it's not very loud, it's a soft splash. So we're describing kind of what it sees. Now, a thought or an emotion with this, I have always wondered what it would be like to live in the same place as a penguin. Now, obviously, just like everything, our writing is not complete. We're going to go and add in fact, I haven't really talked about a penguin's habitat. I've given it a little bit of a clue, but I can now go in and describe it using expository writing. This just gets the reader interested in it. I also can go and change the word place to habitat. That's what we're talking about. Want to make sure that in your introduction, you mention what the prompt says. So there's a science example. And finally, describe the dangers of not looking both ways before crossing the street. Again, this is describing something. Describe the dangers. Well, I'm not going to go and write a narrative for this. However, I can go and describe an instance where something bad might happen in order to get the reader hooked. So again, Peter and Paul were walking, were talking to each other as they approached the street across from the mall. All right, so where were they? They were on approaching the street across from the mall. Now in a 5 senses word, your da. So they did not see the cars coming down the street and were only alerted to them as their horns blared, warning them not to enter the street. So there we've got our sound with the horns blaring. They did not see them. So now we go into our being, our what they were thought or emotion. This scared Peter and Paul enough to always look both ways before crossing the street. Again, this is just an introduction. I'm not going to go into great detail, but it gives a warning. It gives an explanation and an example of one of the ways that it's important to look both ways before crossing the street. So there you guys have it. The BaDaBing, like I said, you can use this in multiple different things just by describing the way things are. It's really easy to remember. It's really fun to say. I've loved it ever since I heard Gretchen teach it to me years and years ago. So, like always, go ahead and think of something. If you want to write one of these examples that I have and give me your own example, go for it. Write it out, type it into the comments below. I will include both of these two sheets in the description below so that you can download them and write, and then share them with me. Can't wait to see them. Have a great day, guys.